Welcome to Belmont Election 2025. I'm your host, Jeff Hansel, the Executive Director here at the Belmont Media Center. And joining us today is Belmont Town Clerk, Ellen Cushman. Ellen O'Brien Cushman.
Either and any.
Either or any. Ellen. I'll just say Ellen.
Good.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
So this will be our first program in a series of programs and live coverage about the upcoming town election, which takes place on what date, Ellen?
Tuesday, April 1st.
Correct. Okay, she got that right. First answer down. But for those of you watching, we want to first cover what there's an upcoming deadline, and that is
February 11th.
February 11th,
at
right.
5 p.m.
And on that date, what do people have to have done by that date?
So people who are seeking election in the town election on April 1st, whether it's for a townwide office or for town meeting representatives, town meeting members, they have to submit nomination papers by that deadline, February 11th, 5 p.m. to the town clerk's office.
So those of you watching now, before February 11th, get your nomination papers in. If you're watching after February 11th, we'll have some other information about town meeting and the upcoming election that you'll want to stay tuned for. But if people are considering running, what are the offices that they can run as a town meeting member, right?
Yes, they can run as a town meeting member, and there are 36 town meeting members in each one of our 8 voting precincts. So that's 288 people. That's a pretty big town meeting. It's called a representative town meeting. And that's a little different than many people might be used to in terms of open town meeting.
Oh, okay, so there's 2 types.
Yes.
What's open town meeting?
An open town meeting is just like voting, election-wise. You go and you represent yourself. Every registered voter may go and attend. Every registered voter has the right to speak and vote.
Okay.
A representative town meeting is different in that our representatives, the town meeting members, are elected in our annual town election to serve their precinct. And so they represent 2,000 people, roughly, about 2,000 people, not just themselves.
So you have a little bit more responsibility as a town meeting member in a representative town meeting. Is
That's
that
right.
a way to put it?
That's right, a broader representation.
Okay. So that is February 11th, the deadline for that. But
Yes.
we have a number of townwide offices that are up for election. Can we just sort of go through how many seats in each board or committee?
Sure.
Are up for election?
Sure. So there are kind of 2 types of boards, committees, and commissions in town. And they either deal with a very specific topic or they're a general or broad responsibility. So the chief executives of the town are the select board. There are 3 members of that. There is 1 person who's elected each year for a term of 3 years.
So there's 1 seat open
That's
this
correct.
year?
That's
Okay.
right.
Select
The
board.
town moderator, likewise, is a little different in that the town moderator is the person who uses the whip and the chair and manages town meeting, not just during the town meeting itself, but getting things ready for town meeting, making sure that we are ready and we've given adequate information to town meeting members. That person is elected 1 person for 1 year. So that's every single year that office appears on the ballot. Another anomaly, the only other real anomaly, is the Housing Authority, which is a Belmont Housing Authority, a state property. In town there are 3 of them. And they have a board that is, those are elected for 5 years.
5 years, okay.
Yes.
And so we have how many seats on the Housing Authority?
Just 1.
Just 1, okay.
That's correct.
For a 5-year
So
term.
all the others, all those kind of topical ones, are elected for 3 years. So this year on the election ballot is the town clerk, the Board of Cemetery Commissioners, the Board of Health, and those are all 1 person for 3 years.
Okay.
And then there are a couple larger boards, which are the trustees of the Public Library, the Municipal Light Board, and the School Committee. And there are 2 people being selected or elected for those boards for
And those
3 years
for
also.
3 years, 3-year terms, okay.
Yes.
And so as we speak, people can still, what's the right term, register themselves to be nominated or be
Yes.
put on the ballot?
Yes, they're coming in and they can come to the town clerk's office and they just
Okay.
pick up nomination papers. Once you take them out, there's no obligation to return them. So if it's something that you're considering and you're talking to your neighbors and you say, it's about time someone did X, and you think maybe your time has come to really sort of lead that charge or be involved or educate yourself in the broader issues in town, there's plenty of time. You could even collect your nomination papers from us on February 11th and return them in the afternoon by 5 o'clock.
Okay.
So for
And-
all those town-wide ones, you have to collect 50 signatures of registered voters of Belmont. That's the minimum, so we always recommend a few more. And then if you were running for town meeting, you only need 25 signatures of people in your precinct. So that's your neighbor's neighborhood.
Now, let's say I want to run for town meeting. What's the first thing I want to do? I want to go to the website and download a form. I'm going to come into. How do I do that?
You have to actually come in and
Okay.
sign the forms, and we'll give you a map if you want. It tells you where you can collect signatures because the town was re-precincted a few years
Okay.
ago. But it's pretty simple. You sign up, we give you some information, and off you go, and you come back in, and
And it's all
hopefully
in-
you get
all
your
in-
name on the ballot. We do it all by email after that.
Okay, but initially it's in person, and you want to come to the town hall,
Yes.
which is 455 Concord. It's on the
Yes.
corner of Concord and Pleasant Street. For those of you not familiar.
Yes.
Same thing for the other positions.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Nomination papers in Massachusetts are taken out in person.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about how many people are actually elected in town meeting. How many in each precinct?
So of the total of 36 that are elected, there are 12 positions that are taken up each year. So 12 people will be elected in each of those 8 precincts this year. In addition, when people move out of town or they move out of their precinct, there are some resignations or people, their
Okay.
life situations change, and so they resign. And so there are a couple of partial term seats in I think it's 4 or 5 precincts this year. And so if somebody is thinking about dipping their toe in and not sure they want to make a 3-year commitment, this is a good way to jump in, and you only serve
Okay.
for 1 year or 2 years.
So get a little taste of what it's like to be in
Right.
the commitment.
That's right.
We actually, you were saying that Belmont actually has maybe a very large number of people participating in town meeting
Right.
compared to any city, any town across Massachusetts.
Yes, we're one of the largest, one of the top 3. I think
we
we
can
might be
be-
second.
Proud of ourselves for the citizen participation in local government.
We have a huge level of citizen participation in local government, and even though 2024 had many elections, and there are a lot of us who are sort of weary of elections, it isn't the time to just sort of sit back. There are a lot of things happening in Belmont and in a lot of our neighborhoods, and so if you're a person who's been concerned about zoning, or whether you're thinking about different levels of budget and what you would like the town to be spending more money or less money on, or different capital projects, now is exactly the time for you to be able to
Get
jump in.
involved.
Yeah, we provide all kinds of information to those town meeting members to get them ready. There are many opportunities for them to educate themselves and to meet up with other town meeting members of their precinct to understand the neighborhood issues.
And we'll talk a little bit about the type of town meetings there are, but you mentioned needing more people to get involved in local government from year to year, and just want to let people know, if you're interested at all but you want more information, you can always go to belmontmedia.org and go to the on-demand
Yes.
section of our website, and you can see past meetings. We cover a great many committees and boards over
Yes.
the period of the year, and you can see just what a committee does by actually watching online.
Right.
Or tune in if you have cable, Channel 8 on Comcast, Channel 28 on Verizon. You can also see it live. You can go to, if you have Apple TV, you can see us on Apple TV or Roku TV.
Well,
So there's a
and
variety
you can
of
also
ways.
go to the town website, which is
Town website.
probably being broadcast as we speak, www.belmont-ma.gov. And under boards and committees, you
Right.
can just choose whichever one you want and look through some minutes.
read through,
And
yeah.
see what that committee is concentrating on at the moment. And sometimes that's just a really good way to figure out whether you want to
Okay.
get involved and or attend meetings or watch them on TV and try to become more involved that way before
Or talk
you take
to a
full
neighbor.
leap.
Maybe you have a neighbor or friend who's involved, get their perspective on it.
That's right.
And if people need more information, they can always email the town clerk's office,
Mm-hmm.
town-clerk@belmont-ma.gov.
That's right.
And
That's right.
then, and if they want to call you, the number is,
617-993-2603.
Great. Okay.
For those people who aren't sure whether they're up to the commitment, may I make a comment about that?
Sure.
So longtime town meeting members, and some of them have been serving for 40 and 50 years. Have one of them in particular, I attended a forum a few years ago about how one might approach town meeting. And there really are three kind of categories of people who approach town meeting very differently. Some go with having read every single thing, attended meetings, watched meetings, and know exactly how they intend to vote. There's another group of people who really have just sort of looked at things in general and understand what's going to be expected of them, but are completely open-minded and say, I'm going to have everything presented to me and decide how I'll vote. And then there's that middle category of people who read everything and think they might have developed an opinion but are open-minded to hear what their neighbors have to say. And so we do, out of our 300 rough members, we do have all three of those. So you don't have to fit into one of those categories.
Okay, I see, right. You don't have to know everything, but...
Nope.
Yeah,
No.
okay. And as we said, there's lots of ways to catch up
Yes.
on what the issues are, what the specifics are. I know your office sends out regular emails about the particular issues and the specifics and the presentations that go on. So
Yes.
you can get yourself educated
That's right.
before town meeting as to
That's
what
right.
you're actually voting on.
That's right. And the obligation for town meeting, it doesn't meet every week. It's not like a regular board and commission doesn't meet every month.
Right.
We meet in a flurry in the spring, the first Monday typically of May or the last Monday of April if there are 5 weeks there. And town meetings go from 7, they can go to about 11, 10:30 or 11. And usually we'll meet about 6 nights at that time, and they're Monday, Wednesday, most often. And then if a particular topic comes up that needs immediate attention by town meeting, then we might have meetings in the fall for 1 or 2 nights. And so the obligation is not 50 nights a year.
Right,
It could
okay.
be 8 nights a year, typically.
Okay. And yeah, another perspective, I guess, this is my opinion, but living in Cambridge, working in Belmont, I can tell you that there's a lot more information available here. Very, very transparently run government. Everything is either online, on TV.
Great
You
to
can
hear.
find out everything.
You can.
In Cambridge, you can't always find out as much as you would like to be able to find out. It's just a different style of,
Yeah.
different type of government altogether. But
I think there's a lot of information that gets pushed out and
Yeah.
put up onto the website, for example, or people get interviewed on Belmont Media or
Yeah.
give committees that are working on different things. And we do get a lot of questions from residents
Right.
as a result of that. And it's great because they can connect directly with the people who can give them the answer.
And you see, in real time, you see where town leaders will assess and say, you know what, it's clear people don't have enough information on this yet,
Right.
so we're going to delay this until we make sure we've informed everybody, and then
That does happen
action gets taken.
quite often when there's something that comes up that way. Yeah.
Right. So that's a very good thing. Now, as we're doing this program, and even after this program, before the town election, but there'll be a special town meeting March 3rd,
Yes.
and that's an opportunity to talk about the types of town meetings that are convened and maybe what will be happening post-April 1st.
Sure. So before COVID, town meeting in Massachusetts was purely an in-person event. We typically gather at Belmont High School in the auditorium, and we conduct our business there. We get up and we leave. In COVID, we had to do a little bit of a spin to try and figure out how to have 300 people from various levels of experience of computers and Zoom, which became part of everyone's life. And so Belmont switched over. The legislature allowed representative town meeting towns only who wanted to and could prove that they could manage it to go with a remote town meeting. And that for Belmont means using Zoom to do a video conference, and we have voting that happens using an electronic voting device on a mobile phone or a computer. So those are the two principal ways, or the sort of polar opposite ways. And then there's recently in the legislature continued to allow this kind of remote activity, and they allowed something called a hybrid, and we're all pretty familiar with that, where a group of people or a lot of the people will show up in person and some will not be able to. That will actually expire in, I think it's April of this year, and the legislature, we haven't yet heard about what the legislature is going to do. But the town meeting you were referring to on March 3rd, the commitment that the select board has made and the moderator has made that that will be purely by remote.
Okay, right. But going forward, we may see, it's possible, more hybrid town meetings in the future.
Could be.
Depending upon the issue and the length of time.
And the town meeting, the method of town meeting of one of those three is decided between the moderator and the select board.
Right.
And once it begins one way, it continues that way.
Right.
That's what the law is.
And I can say, I mean, we don't really need to have a debate about do you like this remote or hybrid or in person, but we have seen that hybrid meetings and remote meetings have introduced some efficiency and allowed more people to be involved at certain times. And sometimes it goes back and forth depending upon the issue, but it seems like it has been a way to get more people involved. And sometimes it's more efficient.
For town meeting, it saved us. I mean, we were
Right.
allowed to continue the business of government.
Right.
And
That's
so that was terrific
Yeah.
because there were small towns or all the open town meeting towns, I'm sure you heard about this, who
Yes.
had to have them in drive-in theaters or
Right.
football stadiums outside where everybody, regardless of weather, having that kind of privilege of being able to do it by Zoom was really extraordinary.
Okay, great. So that's what just about almost everything you need to know to be involved in either as a town meeting member or run for office,
Yes.
townwide office. And again, the deadline for nomination papers is,
February 11 at 5 p.m. to the town clerk.
okay, and the town election is,
April 1, which is a Tuesday of 2025. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m.
and there's how many precincts, how many voting precincts are there? 8, okay.
7 locations, 8 precincts.
Okay, so perhaps we'll run the 8 locations on the screen here later so people can
Great.
but Belmont is not a huge town, so you can, one question, can I vote in any of the precincts?
No,
Okay,
you vote in your own kind of neighborhood one.
or I can bring it to town hall.
No, you can vote by mail.
Okay, that's a precinct, that's right, I'm sorry, yeah.
We
that's
can
its
we
own
can
precinct.
talk about that at another time, probably
Okay.
a little bit later when
Right.
all the nominations are
Right.
up and we're
Sorry
talking
about
about the
that,
election
yeah.
readiness. But
Yeah.
vote by
that's
mail is available, and for those people,
right.
if I can make a little plug, a townwide census form was sent to every household. About 2 weeks ago, they all started to hit mailboxes around town.
Which would
It
have
is
been
a state
early
law.
January, they got it in early
Yes,
January.
thank you.
Okay.
Yes, mid-January. It is a state law, and that's how voters keep their voting status active.
Okay.
And it lets us know our demographics of our town in terms of age as well as where people are living, and it helps the town when we're filing for grants and federal and state grants and things like that. So we really want to encourage people to return their census, and they can put it in my box. They don't have to pay money and put
Just
that kind of
drop it
stuff in.
off?
Just drop it in
Okay.
my drop box, the green one right outside of Town Hall.
So we'll
24 hours a day.
We'll remind people as the date gets closer as to how they can vote, but certainly in-person election day at their precinct.
Yep.
Mail-in as well.
Yep, and an
Yeah.
application was included in every one of those census forms.
Great, okay. Okay, well, great. Thank you for providing all that information to
Thanks for having me, as
residents
always.
of Belmont. Yep. And stay tuned to the Belmont Media Center for more programs about town election and when you can vote, how you can vote. And if you want to see what happens at town meeting, tune into belmontmedia.org.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks a lot.